On this big show, we're talking about all empowering women, and you cannot speak about Long Island, our Long Island, New York, and growing marketplace without bringing on our next guest, Donna Drake. How are you?
I'm doing very well, and thank you for having me on your show.
You know, it's a little different.
I'm excited for you. This is like phenomenal.
You know, normally, for those that know us, they know you and I have been friends for a long time, and you host an amazing show on CBS called The Donna Drake Show. Some people know it as Live It Up with Donna Drake. So tell us a little bit about the inspiration and how you got your show started.
I got my show started because in second grade I was bullied and decided I was going to grow up to be somebody that maybe they then would want to know. So I lived my whole entire life like always trying to grow up to be somebody. You know, like, oh, you're going to wish you were nicer to me, you know, when I'm somebody, right? So, but the funny thing is as the years rolled by, some of my strongest supporters in my journey have been my childhood friends. They're like, oh, we knew you were going to grow up to be who you grew up to be. And they're, you know, because of Facebook and other social media platforms, even though I grew up in St. Louis, a lot of that ardent support is because I'm like that homegrown girl that's done really well. It's still there, and it's kind of cute, right? But that's how it started. It really started with a person that had a dream or a vision for themselves to create something extraordinary, and had no idea that a dream, a literal dream that I had in 2008 while I was sleeping, would get me to where I am in this point of my journey. So prior to that, I had always spent time behind the scenes creating film and television projects, writing things, voicing things over, but never thought I was pretty enough to host my own television show. I thought my nose was too big, Rhonda. I thought I didn't like the space between my teeth. I just didn't feel pretty. And at that time, when I was in the industry, they mostly only hired very good-looking blondes to be on camera as females. And I would walk by this poster at this television station where I worked, a poster of Oprah, and I would look up at her and I'd be like, if you can do it, I can do it. I just felt like this connection with that poster, which is a poster that I still own to this day, which ironically is in the studio that I now run. So in addition to having my own television show on CBS, I now run a full-fledged New York State qualified television studio. And it happens to be in the exact same building where I started my television career. So my life has been anything but extraordinary. But when you ask me where I started, it started in second grade. And I've just been manifesting on that same playbook, I guess, ever since I can remember.
I know that you like to encourage your guests to come on your show because they talk about things like this episode that are empowering, and people that you interview are changing lives every single day and adding value to their communities. How do you find the guests and produce for your show so much talent?
I'm a nonprofit junkie. Okay, so anybody that's doing something good for the community, I will give of my time, my talent, or my treasure. So in the early days, I would find them because they would be the people that were running events that I thought were bringing value to the community. So it was whether it was autism, whether it was helping the hungry, whether it was children, pets, veterans, you know, because I grew up singing in a patriotic singing group called the Futures of America. So I grew up around the nonprofit community from the time I was 12 until the time I was 23, doing shows, singing for all of those nonprofit organizations. Moving to Long Island years later, Long Island has a plethora of nonprofit organizations, so they're not hard to find. So it's just a matter of finding something that I'm passionate about. And though I might not be able to sit on the board of all of those organizations, by highlighting them on my television show, it's my way of tithing, my way of giving, my way of celebrating them. So the television show that I created is really only to make space and a platform for those nonprofits to be able to shine. That's the heart behind my show, right?
Yeah.
And you know that because we're friends. But
I do.
So all the celebrities, it's great to have them on. I love and adore them. I want to know what they're doing now that they've reached that level of wealth and success to help their community grow, right?
Absolutely.
Same with businesses. So when a business comes on and they pay to sponsor a segment on my show, I take a portion of that and I scholarship the nonprofit organizations. It's just, I don't know, it's just, that's how it is. So now people call me. It used to be me saying, oh, can you come on my show? Or, you know, do you have $500? Do you want to come on my show? And it was hard in the early days. But now here, 14 years later, I've interviewed over probably close to 8,000 people. Now people mostly call me. But that's how it started. That's how I find them. I just find good people doing good things. And I'm like, okay, let's do a story on that.
Which I love. Now, let's talk about something a little bit more challenging.
Okay. Wait, let me put my thinking cap on.
When somebody looks at you
Yes.
and they see you on TV and they look at you and you're all cleaned up and you're all ready to go. You know, people have this persona where your entire life, you know, they look at you like your entire life is perfect because they don't see what goes on behind the scenes.
Understood.
Right?
Right.
Tell me a little bit about what some of the work challenges have been for you in your growth.
Well, one year, my college alma mater had promised me a huge amount of money that would then have helped buy the airtime. It was probably like $20,000 type of sponsorship. And then I got called maybe the week later saying, oh, now we're not going to give you the $20,000 because the dean decided they're going to build a new dorm. Well, that loss of $20,000 of revenue to a single mom living on Long Island trying to do the show was a huge hit. So I think all of my challenges have helped me become resourceful, right? So every time something like that, and I'm like, not again, you know, I'm like, okay, I got this. So my attitude has helped me, but there are always challenges. There are always somebody, you know, like right now I have a good challenge. That is, I invested in a space, but now my space is too small. So was it fear that caused me not to take on that additional space when I could have? You know, what was that challenge even in myself that made me not go for something a little bigger, right? Am I dreaming too small sometimes? So yes, people look at my life and they're like, but I've lost a spouse to colon cancer. My mother died when I was pregnant with my first son. I've had an entire flood in my house, Rhonda, one time where we had to move out of my house because I had a newborn baby. The toilet overflowed at night while we were all sleeping. I had to move into a residential place or whatever, and then we had to drive my kids back and forth to school because I am the mother of 3 kids. Yes, I'm just like everybody else. I have ridiculous, crazy challenges, but at the end of the day, I have always, since I was a little girl, had an attitude of gratitude. I am thankful. I'm even thankful for the challenges. I was supposed to work one time, and you know the story too, with someone that had been in the television industry forever.
Yep.
And I decided, you know the story? I've got some good stories.
Where you're going.
Right. So they call me, they're like, oh, we're gonna build this new studio, you're gonna run the network, you're gonna be the face of this new launch, everything's gonna be wonderful, blah, 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 blah. I go on an art trip with my daughter Elise to Barcelona. In the newspaper, even in Barcelona, I see this person's face. They got in big trouble. I was like, are you kidding me? But I had been living off my credit cards from April until August of that year. And now I had all this debt. I had to pull back and say, no, you're not going to have, you can't have my Live It Up brand because it's all that I have.
Yeah.
I was mortgaged out to the wazoo. I went to Long Island Care's Harry Chapin Food Bank, who had been a client of mine in the past, and I just made calls and I said, I don't know what's happening here. I think I might need to come to the food bank. So yes, to the outside audience, that they know Donna Drake, but they might not know Donna.
Yeah.
I'm really the same person. And the reason I'm able, I think, to be an empathetic host of my television show and to shine a light on people and to kind of be resourceful, as I said before, and build each other up is because of the fact that, I've gone through a lot of stuff.
Life experiences define who we are.
Oh, yeah.
It's how we handle them.
Who wants to be widowed? Who wants to be married 3 times? Who wants to have their mom die? Who wants to have a flood in their house? Who wants to be scammed a zillion million times and still wake up the next day to say, okay, we can do this?
The real Donna Drake does.
This is me.
The real Donna Drake. And you and I have spoken about this before, because at the end of the day, you and I will chat on the weekend, and you know, we're rednecks at heart. We just want to relax and be ourselves and be able to turn off everything that we've learned through business and just be friends at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I really genuinely love all the businesses that come on. I take their brand as serious as my own because they're trusting me with they're precious business, and all I really want to do is shine a light on them so that they can get more business.
I love it.
And that's all I want to do for the rest of my life till I'm well in my 90s, you know?
Well, again, we are in studio today with Miss Donna Drake. We are speaking all about empowering women, and if this did not empower you to be the best person you can be and take every day to its fullest, I don't know what will motivate you. Donna, how do people reach you?
Well, Donna Drake TV is my Instagram, but I guess they could just call you. No,
You could call me if you want to reach Donna.
I'm pretty easy to find. But yeah, so I have a website and I have the studio and I'm easy to find. And I do still try to answer all of my own email. Like when people email me, I do have somebody in Boston that kind of goes through it and gets rid of the people that just say, you know, oh, nice shoes. Like, you know, I have like stalkers, kind of weirdo people. But I do try to answer every single person.
Awesome. So again, if you want to reach out to Miss Donna Drake, or you think you'd be an excellent candidate for one of her episodes on the Live It Up with Donna Drake show, feel free to reach out to Donna. If not, thank you so much for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you next week.